Well, here's a few news articles. Of course, the big thing is the anti-abortion decision, but there are a few other things. The inflation rate is too high, and so the Fed has made a big increase of 0.5%. But of course, if you lay that historically, this is going back to 1970. This is why, I've been complaining for about 20 years. I mean, an interest rate of 0 makes no sense at all. That means paying for something later is the same as paying for it now. That's hard to believe. And it's been that way for many years, which is crazy. And all this extremely low federal interest rate was just to pump up the economy, and frequently when it wasn't necessary. So anyway, they tried to increase the rate starting back in 2016, but then the pandemic hit, so they lowered it again. Now they're increasing it again to get inflation under control. In the grand scheme of things, it would seem like an interest rate of about 5 or 6% would be a normal figure to hold the economy under control, and it has gone as high as 19% when they were really trying to stamp down inflation back in the 70s and 80s. So anyway, while this is a rapid increase, it's certainly not above the norm. Certainly, I think in any the economy settles down, this number should be up at like 4 or 5. But anyway. So there are 3 Republican governors in New England that have made strong statements that they support a woman's right to choose to have an abortion. So it's useful to notice that although it has been a gigantic Republican push for decades to stop Roe versus Wade, it is not something that is unanimously supported by the Republicans. And the current bills that are passing are so extreme that I think very few Americans will actually support these when they calm down from all the partisan anger. Bills that refuse to let a woman have an abortion to save the life of the woman, and for rape and incest, are you out of your mind? I mean, even if you hate abortion, there are some cases where it's necessary medical treatment, and even most Republicans wouldn't really want to let women die in cases like that. That's insane. But right now there's this, everyone's all inflamed. But it's nice to see there's still a few good Republicans left. And anyway, in some ways, all these laws should be irrelevant because you can just get abortion pills and take them at home, and you don't need any government's permission at all, and then it's just like any other illegal drug, and as I think everybody knows, you can easily get illegal drugs. It's just another illegal drug to get. And as they've been pointing out, even though they try to pass laws against it, they really can't do much to stop a drug from being distributed. We already know from all the war on drugs that they aren't very effective. And so that's an option. In fact, here's the site, aidaccess.org. That's the site. It will have an online consultation, and they will arrange for you to get the pills by mail. I think from an overseas supplier that will give you generic pills to make them cheaper. They've thought of everything. And, it's readily available. And this is obviously should be the default answer, I would think. Anyway, if this knowledge was common, I think these laws against abortion would really cease to matter. Just like, for example, there's been laws against marijuana all my life, and it hasn't had any effect. Anybody that wanted pot could just get pot. Anyway. Unfortunately, there'll be some people going to jail and such, and that's not good. Anyway, by the way, your phone has a ton of evidence for everything you do. So if you had an abortion, it would be easy to figure out from your phone. It knows your physical location. It knows your Google searches, your chats, the websites you've been to, and so on. Yeah, you could argue wars on nouns don't work. Well, yeah, war on terror, I'm not sure that's working too well either. Anyway, so it's an important issue. And phones are commonly used in criminal investigations. So when they criminalize abortion and they start trying to get evidence, the phone tracking will be dangerous. I'm surprised that I haven't heard yet in Texas. I mean, the whole point of Texas is a vigilante can make $10,000 for every person they can find who helped a woman get an abortion. So it would seem to me all you'd have to do is buy one of these online databases. You can easily find hundreds and thousands of women who got an abortion. You could easily make a pile of money that way. I'm surprised people aren't doing it yet. And many other states are imitating that bill. So it would seem like it's a little bit of internet forensics followed by a bunch of lawsuits, and you'd have a steady bunch of money, not unlike other forms of internet troll lawsuits. Anyway, Canada's making these small nuclear reactors. These things are pretty cool. What they do, the Fukushima reactor and the Chernobyl reactor were bad because they had this water-cooled stuff in this dangerous radioactive material, and when it broke, the stuff leaked all over the place. And these reactors don't work that way. These reactors have a solid pellet of fuel here, and this is made of little grains of fuel encased in ceramic, and they are never moved. They make a solid pellet with all the nuclear fuel in it, like a battery. You use it until it's used up, and then you just discard this single unit and replace it. So it is always contained, and there's no way it can leak, and it doesn't require any external cooling, so you know they've thought of it. And this is enough to power like 100,000 homes or more. So they're going to make these small plants all over the place, and it sounds like they really are much safer. They don't have this dangerous radioactive stuff that can escape. So that may be the way for the future. And of course, the good thing about nuclear plants is they don't put out greenhouse gases. There's a protest at City College. Been going on since last night. A bunch of people are camping out in front of the administration building, faculty and students, to block the layoffs. So I don't know if it's going to have any effect, but it's a little bit theatrical anyway. We'll see what happens. The layoffs are pretty gruesome. They claim there's no need for the layoffs. One thing that is very clear is if you look at the financial numbers coming out of the college, they make no sense at all. They jump up and down. We seem to have a surplus, then we seem to have it all gone. It is very unclear exactly how big a layoff is needed and whether it's really needed. But they are canceling programs and laying people off like crazy. This is a very good Fox News article, and I don't say that very often. This is reporting what Ginsburg said. See, I read or parts of the leaked report from the Supreme Court, and a lot of it made sense. I mean, they said that the Roe versus Wade was really sort of shaky, based on an extreme, exaggerated, tenuous interpretation of the guarantees in the Constitution, and it seemed far too broad. And that's what Ruth Bader Ginsburg said. She said that they shouldn't have done Roe versus Wade the way they did it. What they should have done, the right way the Supreme Court should act, there's even a name for this principle which I forget. They shouldn't take gigantic sweeping changes and make big changes in the law. They should make small course corrections whenever possible. So when someone comes to them with a law to be reviewed, they should try to find the smallest change possible to make things okay. They shouldn't try making drastic sudden moves. And that's what happened in Roe versus Wade, and that's what's happening now in this cancellation of Roe versus Wade. The point about the draft is not that they ended Roe versus Wade, which we all expected, but they did it in such a brutal, extreme way that it's going to have a lot of collateral damage. It's going to affect a lot of other bills, a lot of other rights, and it's really drastic, and it would have been a whole lot better to just have a moderate ruling saying, well, you know, the abortion was okay until 20 weeks, we'll make it okay until 15 weeks or something. If you did a small course correction, then the country would have a chance to adapt and the laws could adapt, and that's what the Supreme Court should do. What they're doing is just making things worse by making giant lurches one way or the other. Anyway, kind of true about Roe. Yeah, that's right. So it's, anyway, I thought that was a good and seemed to me quite fair article on Fox News, which is not something I see that often on the area of politics. And that's the problem with the new ruling. A more skillful ruling could have calmed down the temperature in the country. But this one has just been like throwing gasoline on the fire. And plastic recycling has dropped down to 5%. Now, I didn't think you could really recycle plastic at all, and it turns out from reading this article, you can't. If you ship the plastic to another country like China or something, they count that as recycled. Of course, they just throw it away in China. So it's all been garbage anyway. They used to say 10% was recycled. Now it's down to 5% because most of those foreign nations won't take our junk anymore. So now they're only able to ship away 5%. This reminds me of how in the last 10 or 20 years, police departments have lowered the rape cases because they just invented a new category of rape cases with a fancy name that means no further action. So they don't investigate them, they don't solve them, but they remove them from the unsolved pile, and then they publish statistics saying that there's more rape cases being resolved by just a stroke of the pen. So this is the same kind of sleight of hand. In practice, I think no plastic is actually recycled. None, essentially none. It's always been that way. It's been a fraud all along. And here's an article from Reuters talking about what people have been saying. Yes, well, recycling glass and aluminum and paper is not a scam. That really happens. But recycling plastic is nonsense. It doesn't happen. Weren't the East African pirates saying they did it because of international plastic waste? No, I didn't know that. But certainly the plastic waste is polluting a lot of places. China only accepted plastic particles that you can put in the factory without any process. Yeah, that could be. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so here's an article explaining the sort of problem here. I mean, 22 states are expected to ban abortion immediately just because Roe versus Wade is overturned. I think like 12 or 13 of them will automatically have that happen. And many other things they've already said are on the chopping block, like interracial marriage, consensual sex between unmarried adults, birth control, gay marriage, and many other things. All these other things would logically fall because they're all based on similar reasoning as Roe versus Wade. They haven't yet been attacked, but if that Roe versus Wade decision goes this way, then these other things will logically go soon. And if a Republican wins in 24, we can expect a national abortion ban. The states won't have any rights in this matter anymore. I rather expect that. So it'll just be a sort of dark, gloomy future. Anyway, that's enough of the news.